Mr. Moore's math class!
Good afternoon, evening or morning. That's right guys, it doesn't matter what time of day it is because these lessons are all about you learning when it suits you best. So I am super excited for you to be learning today about rearranging and substituting into linear equations. But before we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at my 4 tips in order to be able to do these types of questions well. Let's check them out. Circle what it is that you're looking for. Write down the story of what's happening to the pronumeral. Use BODMAS to help you out with this. And use brackets when substituting into equations.
So now it's time to rearrange equations to make different pronumerals the subject. So the question says rearrange the following to make the pronumeral in parenthesis the subject. Now parenthesis means brackets, which you can see down here. You've got the y in brackets. Alright, before we do that though, what we need to know is a couple of things. 1. Circle the pronumeral that we are rearranging for before beginning. 2. Write out the story of what is occurring to this pronumeral. And 3. Rearrange/solve for the pronumeral just as we have done in previous lessons. Okay, so for the first one, we're looking for y. So we want to make y the subject, so let's circle it, and let's write out the story of what's actually happening to y. So first of all, following BODMAS, there's no brackets around the y, there's no powers of, there's no division, but there is a multiplication. So you've got it saying times by -5. Alright, the additions, well there's also adding 10x and adding 17. So it's saying plus 10x and plus 17. And there's no subtractions. Alright, so what we're going to do now is write out the opposite, so minus 17, minus 10x, and divide by -5. Draw the arrow, and let's just go through and rearrange. So we go minus 17 from both sides. Alright, 17s will cancel out, so then you get 10x minus 5y equals -35. Alright, minus 10x from both sides, so minus 10x gets us -5y is equal to -35 minus 10x. So 10x will cancel out here, and you're left with that over here. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to divide both sides by -5, so divide by -5 and divide all of this by -5. The -5s will cancel out, so you get y is equal to -35 minus 10x over -5. And what we can actually do is we can cancel these down because -5 goes into both -35 and -10. If it didn't, then we couldn't cancel it down. It needs to go into both. So we're going to write this again as y is equal to, well, how many times does -5 go into -35? That's 7. How many times does -5 go into -10? Well, that's 2, so it's positive 2x. So y is equal to 7 plus 2x. Alright, let's have a look at this one. We're now looking to make p the subject. So we're going to circle p, and we're going to rearrange to get p on its own. So the first thing that's happening to the b is it's being times by t. Right, because tp is equal to t times p. The next thing that's happening is you're just subtracting this whole lot. So it's minus 1/3 ax squared. Alright, there's nothing else that's actually happening over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the opposite, so plus 1/3 ax squared and divide by t. Alright, so let's go through and do that. Plus 1/3 ax squared plus 1/3 ax squared. Delete both of those, so you end up getting m plus 1/3 ax squared is equal to tp. Alright, now all we need to do is divide by t, divide both sides by t, divide both sides by t. Alright, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. So you've got your t's cancel out here, and we're going to break this up into both. We're going to make m divided by t and this one here divided by t. So you've got m over t, just like that, and we've got plus 1/3 ax squared divided by t is equal to p. Now, we know here that there's 3 layers, isn't there? So it's actually not as easy as just leaving it as that, because we can't have a fraction with 3 layers. So we're going to leave it as mt, and then what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this as plus 1/3 ax squared divided by t is equal to p. Okay, so let's just make this a little bit more easy to do. So you got m over t plus 1/3 ax squared. Well, that's saying 1/3 times ax squared. So what we can actually do is we can just write ax squared over 3 divided by t is equal to p. Alright, now divided by t is a fraction, we can write t over 1. Okay, this hasn't changed it, but just makes it a little bit easier. So then what we get is m over t plus ax squared over 3. Now instead of writing divide, what we're going to do is we're going to turn it into a times and flip it. So 1 over t is equal to p. Alright, and then what we need to do is just combine it. So you got m over t plus ax squared times 1 is just ax squared over 3t is equal to p. What I could then do is go and multiply this term by 3 to give it a common denominator. So what I do here is I multiply this by 3, and whenever I do to the top, I do to the bottom. Right, all of a sudden, we've got the same denominator, so I can actually write it as 3m plus ax squared over 3t is equal to p, as you can see here. And in the final question, we're looking to rearrange and make k the subject. So let's circle k. Alright, and let's go through and write the story for k. Now k is on the bottom, and this might make things a little bit interesting later, but we'll just write it as this, 1 over k. Alright, now on top of k there's 4l. Now what it's actually saying is times 4l, but we'll come to that again later. Right, then it's got the square root of k, and we're multiplying it by 3 pi at the end here. Right, so let's go through and do the opposites, divide by 3 pi, k squared, and then we'll just leave these two as it is just for now. Right, so when we go through and divide by 3 pi first of all, divide both sides by 3 pi, the 3 pi's of course will cancel out, so you end up getting r over 3 pi is equal to square root of 4l times k. Right, now let's square both sides, so we're going to put this in brackets and square it, and we're going to square this as well. Of course the square root and the square will cancel out, and we're going to square everything inside the bracket, so you get r squared is over 3 squared is 9, pi squared is pi squared. Square root and the square cancel out, and you're left with 4l on k. Right, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Because we've got k on the bottom, we've basically got something that looks ugly with all these fractions. So we're going to do what we're doing before and get rid of all of the fractions. Alright, so to do that, let's move the 9 pi squared over to this side first of all. So we're going to multiply everything by 9 pi squared. So 9 pi squared and times 9 pi squared. Now of course, 9 pi squared will cancel out. So you get r squared is equal to, because 4 times 9 is 36, pi squared l over k. Now of course I want to remove k, so I'm going to multiply everything by k here and everything by k here. Now when we do that, the k's are going to cancel out, so you get k r squared is equal to 36 pi squared l. Alright, now all I need to do is divide by the r squared in order to get k on its own. So you divide by r squared, and you end up getting k is equal to 36 pi squared l on r squared. And that's how you get k on its own. Okay, so now it's time to press pause and try the following. That is, we want to rearrange a, c equals 2 pi r to find out the value of r, and f is equal to k q r squared, once again to find out r. Remember, when you're done, press play and check out your solutions against mine. Right, so for the first one, what's happening is the r has been multiplied by 2 pi, so all we need to do is simply divide both sides by 2 pi, and that gets us r on its own. Okay, so this one, because we've got r squared as a fraction, what we need to do is we need to multiply the r squared over to the other side in order to get rid of the fraction and make it look pretty. So we end up getting fr squared equals kqq. Alright, next thing to do obviously is we need to divide both sides by f in order to get the f away from here. Once we've done that, what we need to do is square root both sides, because to undo the square we do the square root.